We are ready.
Perfect. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon to Vinod and our friends of SME in Dubai. We have the opportunity to have this workshop about the entrepreneurship and innovation ecosystem in UAE. We have a program where we will have the welcome words from the head of innovation and entrepreneurship of ProChile, from Mrs. Sofia Del Sante. After, I will make a short presentation about why we're supporting the innovation ecosystem in Chile and the opportunities that Dubai has developed. And we will end with our partner, SME, who we have been working since a while, but now we are bringing them to explain directly from the source which are the first duties that they have, also creating an amazing tech ecosystem in Dubai, and also the programs and opportunities. We truly believe that connecting opportunities with companies worldwide, we can help them to go global, because every country is now developing startups, but how we connect them and how we show certain opportunities through the different offices that ProChile has can make this a very rich ecosystem. So this is the purpose, to add a new dot into this ecosystem that ProChile has, that will be Dubai. So now I will give the floor to Sofia for welcome words for this webinar.
Thank you, Carlos. Hi, everyone. It's great to be with all of you today. Thank you for joining us. As Carlos was saying, this is a very important initiative for us, as we are very committed to help you guys enter new markets. We understand that for startups and scale-ups, expansion to other markets, it's not an option, it's a need. And in that sense, we are always trying to set up bridges with different ecosystems that we see might have opportunities for you in different markets. I think one of those markets is the case of Dubai. We see that there's a lot of common needs, common challenges that we somehow can face together and help different ecosystems grow as a whole. And in that sense, the idea of this initiative is to get you closer to the Dubai ecosystem, so you can have a better perspective of what are the needs in those markets, what are the opportunities, and how you can get your company from Latin America to the Middle East and other regions that, of course, are also emerging markets that have similar needs than the ones we have in Latin America. And we want to help you explore those opportunities and set up bridges with other opportunities that we are identifying in those markets. So in that sense, I think the whole point of this session is to get, so you can have a better overview of the ecosystem of Dubai. And thank you, Vinod, and our team from ProChile in Dubai for helping us set up this initiative. I hope it's of huge value of all of you, and that you can see that sometimes we are looking at Latin America as our main market, but there are other regions in the world that might have opportunities for you guys, and we as ProChile want you to be aware of these opportunities and be able to catch them when they are open for you. So with that, I'll get back to Carlos so he can help you get a better overview of the help that you can get from ProChile in Dubai. Thank you, Carlos.
Thank you, Sofia. I'm now going to start to share my screen to start this webinar. So I hope you can see the presentation now.
Yeah.
In terms of Dubai, well, I'm going to first, to don't get problems of connection, I'm going to turn off my camera. So, well, why Dubai? Well, I have been spending already 11 years in Dubai. I've been seeing the growth of this ecosystem. So the presentation will have the characteristic. Oh, sorry, I cannot. Yeah, can go there. Perfect. So first, I will show you, as I mentioned, the strategy that ProChile has with the innovation supporting startups and entrepreneurs to go global. After the potential of the MENASA area, that is one of the areas that was get as a priority in the second year, but it's very important for our new strategy. Of course, UAE as a global ecosystem and as a regional hub, and Dubai as an ecosystem. If we see, this is the ProChile 3.0 strategy, where we have a innovation entrepreneurship ecosystem, or as one of our pillars. Also the ProChile digital transformation. So everything is aligned, and of course the COVID, the only thing that did was just push up our strategy to go even farther in this scope. Go global, it was just launched yesterday, that is aligned with this pillar of innovation. And we as ProChile in Dubai, of course, we are helping to create this ecosystem. We have already good examples of cases in Dubai. And why? Because now the most valuable companies are technology companies. If you see, this is data from the market capitalization of the US. If you see the top 5 are technology companies, and also because in this recession, these technology companies are being even profitable. So, and another, of course, element is like this COVID just push us to now have more interconnected devices, artificial intelligence and Internet of Things. They are expected to skyrocket, because most of these fundamental shifts that COVID brought to us are going to extend far beyond the crisis. In terms of now MENASA, let me get in terms of MENASA, well, it is a region that has not been developed yet as a whole. From Chile has been focusing in other markets, like of course America, Europe and Asia, but it's the right time now to go. We're talking about a group of 22 countries, that is the Arab League, plus other that are very well using Dubai as a hub to cover them, as Pakistan, India, Iran, Iraq. And we have 2 offices, and in Dubai is the one that was opened first, and second, we have a representative office also in Morocco. And from there, we're going to identify all the opportunities in different fields, as these of the startups and entrepreneurship ecosystem. And why this area? Because it's an area with young population. It is already 492 million people, with a very young population, with the highest GDP in some countries. So there is where we can identify also certain funds that are open for international startups, and actually why not establish in as a UAE company, and taking even other funds that are developed for UAE-based companies. How Dubai or UAE first came into a hub for entrepreneurship. I remember when I arrived to Dubai, you used to see this free zone or advertisement of these places, and one of them, and the first of them, was Dubai Internet City. Dubai Internet City is where most of the tech companies are established. So since that early beginning, 1999, Dubai has been leading the region. That's why now, if you see the flow until we arrive to 2015, where really UAE took a very serious strategy on innovation, Currently, we have now 17 accelerators, 12 incubators, and 7 co-working spaces. But it was in 2015, considering that in 2021, Dubai will have, UAE, sorry, will have 50 years as a country. As you know, it's a very new country, but they set a goal to try to move into a knowledge and innovation-based economy. As you know, UAE is an oil-based economy country, and they have this very forward strategy to be an innovation hub. And for that, they have been developing these 6 sectors that Binod and SME is going to explain us in detail. And also in UAE, Dubai definitely is leading this strategy. They created in 2015 also this challenge of Smart Dubai. They want to be the happiest city. They link the concept of smart city to happiness, and that of course needs a lot of technology, because you need to track security. You need to connect people. You need to make people in a sustainable way easier to live. And that needs technology and the digital transformation that Dubai it's coming. It's really huge. I mean, you see always Dubai in the news because all these new things that they are adapting, and this is one of the things that is helping the ecosystem. As I was mentioning, in this internet city free zone, you have all the big guys on tech that also help to the ecosystem to grow. You have IBM, Google, Microsoft, Uber, all the new big names, and actually from that also ecosystem or free zone came the 2 big exits that UAE has. Is Karim, that was acquired by Uber, and Souq.com, that was acquired by Amazon. And another important program is this Dubai Future Accelerator that was created. And of course, is Dubai SME, who has the law, I mean, the task and to enforce all this innovation approach that the government of Dubai is pushing. And with the aim, Dubai has always big dreams. They want to be the Silicon Valley of the Arab world, and I think they already are, because the advances that Dubai has in all these fields is quite big. This is already a portion of the ecosystem. I'm not going to go one by one, but you have a lot of venture capitals established in UAE. You have already funds that are developed by the government to push these for some for foreign companies, some for local companies. And this is show exactly what Dubai wants. This March 21/17 duty to be on Mars in that date show that they really they put long-term visions, and they want to get long-term results, but they focus also on short-term results. Another important program is this program of the artificial intelligence. They want one of the few early countries that created a national program for artificial intelligence, and also this one of the Center for the Fourth Industrial Revolution. Also, is these 3 just already achievements show that it's really a place to consider for the companies that are in that field. What have been the results so far in terms of startups? If we see Dubai or UAE is where 24.9% of the startups are based in the MENA region. So if they have And if we see in terms of value of the deals, it represents UAE the 30% of the deals. This is from 2018, and in 2019 was even 40% of the deal. So no doubt that it's the place to be in terms of startup. And I want to finish my presentation showing some of the companies that already made some steps in the UAE ecosystem in different categories. Some are looking for establish with a partner. Some other got some seed funds, as Algramo, for example, in the Expo Live, and some other in the Dubai Future Accelerator as AAC, the Advanced Innovation Center. So Dubai has a strong focus on innovation and entrepreneurship, and it's a test bed. So this is the best way for the startup that has something that is disruptive, cutting edge technology, because from there they can go to test in the rest of the Arab world. As mentioned, it is 500 million people. So this is my presentation. Now I will give the floor to Vinod. We are very glad to have SME with us in this seminar. Vinod is part of is a director and asset and investment department at the Mohammed bin Rashid Funds for SMEs. It is also the program manager of the SME Innovation Attraction Initiative. It's a key member of Dubai SME special projects. So I will give the floor to Vinod so he can explain us and show us more about Dubai. I think you are mute.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Carlos, for the kind introduction. On behalf of Dubai SME, I would like to thank ProChile for giving us this opportunity to have this webinar with the Chilean business community. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's session, Dubai's innovation ecosystem and understanding and accessing the UAE markets. I hope you are all safe and healthy during this pandemic. Let me just share my screen now. Can everybody see?
Yeah, it's full the screen now.
Right. Before I just go into today's main topic, which is Dubai's innovation ecosystem, I want to just give you a quick macro view of the UAE, the country in which the Dubai is an emirate. Mr. Carlos, in his presentation, has actually covered quite a bit about the UAE as a country and as an ecosystem for entrepreneurship. However, I feel that it is also important because you will see during the presentation how the vision and goals of the social and economic development are entwined to the federal and emirate level. We'll share the detailed deck of this presentation with you, and you can always come back to us with any questions and clarifications. Let's start by looking at the social and economic system. The UAE as a country, I mean, from an area perspective, you see it's about 82,000 square kilometers. It comprises of 7 emirates: Abu Dhabi, Dubai, Sharjah, Ajman, Fujairah, Umm Al Quwain, and Ras Al Khaimah. The capital city is Abu Dhabi, and the total population of UAE is 9.6 million people, majority of which are expatriates from other parts of the world. The official language being Arabic, but there are a lot of other languages that have been versed in the country, from English, Hindu, Urdu, and Persian. It's a Muslim country, and the median age that you see is 33 years. This is the average age of the population. As Mr. Carlos said, it's a young country which started off in 1971 and up till now, if you see in terms of what it has achieved as a country, and even its cities, Abu Dhabi and Dubai, in terms of what it has achieved over the last 40 years. This is a federal constitutional monarchy with the president being His Highness Sheikh Khalifa bin Zayed Al Nahyan and the Prime Minister, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum. The currency for the UAE is the dirham. It's pegged to the dollar at one USD for 3.67 AED. The country is the number 26th in the world in terms of GDP per capita, with approximately 37,500 per person. If you see the GDP even in the world, it is number 30 in terms of GDP in $1 billion, and you've seen that it's been growing over the last 10 years. The large proportion of the GDP is based on exports and imports, because UAE, primarily being a very young country, is highly reliant on imports for its needs. Overall, it's a dynamic global commercial hub with a wealthy consumer market. The economy largely depends on hydrocarbon exports, but over the last few years, there have been significant efforts to diversify its economy. And for example, now, if you look at the GDP of Dubai today, it says only 5% of the GDP is related to hydrocarbon. Tourism and a number of other sectors are of high strategic importance, and if you see the targets set are pretty high in terms of we are expected to have 25 million visitors coming here during the expo. Foreign direct investment and inflows are also on the high. One of the biggest attractions, obviously, is the wealthy population, the absence of tax, and abundance of hydrocarbon reserves. Just a quick look at the trade between Chile and the GCC, of which UAE is a part. It's been growing year on year. US dollars 425 million in terms of trade value between GCC and Chile, of which $200 million is with the UAE alone. And this, if you see based on stats of the last 4 years, there's been a 28% growth in terms of the trade. Primary focus of the trade is in agriculture and minerals, but we see there's a huge potential for significant trade increase for certain specifics. For example, nanoparticles of copper, lithium, for some of the key sectors in the UAE's economy. Aerospace, ICT, and health and medical. These are definitely something that could come up. Coming to Dubai, Dubai is the second largest emirate in the UAE, with 3,885 square kilometers, contribution to GDP of 108 billion US dollars in 2018, and a population of 3.3 million. This is almost 40% of the total population of UAE. One of the key benefits here is the strategic location that we have between Europe and the Far East, and this has helped Dubai to diversify itself as a trading and transportation tourism hub. The Emirate also has a very good access to high growth African markets. Just to purely to encourage development of the private sector and also to attract foreign investment. The establishment of 23 free zones where foreigners can operate without duties and taxes or any currency restrictions. The contributions of SMEs in Dubai is significant. They contribute to 46% of Dubai's GDP. 1.4 million workers in Dubai are employed in the SME sector, which means they're approximately 51% of the total task of the workforce in Dubai, and 150,000 active SMEs in Dubai at the moment. If you had to just classify them in terms of scale, we would say that 61% are approximately micro enterprises, 36% being small and medium, 2 and large just 1%. So this is how the SMEs are based in Dubai. Just to have a quick definition of the SME as per UAE, we have got 3 classifications: trading, manufacture, services, micro, small, and medium. And the classification is based on employees and turnover. So you would see that any company that comes within the category of 51 to 200 employees and up to 250 million dirhams in terms of turnover per year, they would get classified as SMEs. Dubai SME is part of the Dubai economy. Dubai economy is mandated for the economic development of Dubai. The Dubai economy has 3 agencies under it: Dubai Foreign Direct Investment, Dubai SME, and Dubai Export. Dubai Foreign Direct Investment focuses on foreign investment coming from abroad into Dubai. Dubai SME works as a vertical, focuses on development of the SME sector. And Dubai Export looks for companies that export out of Dubai into the region. As a mandate for Dubai SME as a government organization, our objective is to foster economic growth, economic competitiveness, business community happiness, forecasting and the economic condition, and planning for the future. To address these aspects, Dubai SME has over time developed a number of variety of services for the SME sector. We offer advisory services. We have an academy that focuses on training and developing the capabilities of SMEs, primarily addressing the capability management aspect of SMEs. We run our own incubator, and the Hamdan Innovation Incubator is also the certifier of incubators in the city of Dubai. So they certify other incubators to operate and house startups and SMEs. We have business startup program, which is primarily to support growth companies as and when they want to scale up. We also have the fund. The fund invests and give loans to businesses, mostly from the credit guarantee scheme. These are loans that are given, interest-free loans given to businesses at the ideation, right from an ideation to a growth stage. There's a specified service that we offer here, which is called the Market Access, the GPP program. This is access to procurement contracts in government. The government is one of the biggest buyers of services and goods in Dubai and also in the UAE, and access through this program, 5% of the total government budget is allocated for SMEs to have access to. In addition to the above, we also have policy advocacy and other outreach and marketing act to showcase SME achievements in the market. These programs address multiple stages of an SME. So we have programs trying to address entrepreneurship activation at an early age with students, or at an ideation stage where we have a startup factory kind of a thing, and even at a stage when they have set up and established and they want to scale up. So all the service offerings that we have in the ecosystem is primarily to help and support all the stages of startups and SMEs. Just to look back in terms of what we have done over the last couple of years, we've had 38,000 entrepreneurs assisted through the SME advisory services. We have 7,500 new businesses launched by licensing or after they have gone through an ideation incubation service support with us. We have offered subsidies, government subsidies like labor guarantees and everything for many Emirati entrepreneurs and SMEs. The Hamdan Innovation Incubator has housed and graduated 650 startups since inception. The training, the academy, Dubai Entrepreneurship Academy, has trained more than 19,000 wannabe entrepreneurs and put them into the market. And previously, I was talking about the government procurement program. So far, we have facilitated 86 billion in terms of contracts for qualified SMEs based on our ratings and endorsements to the government. This is what we had done for SMEs within Dubai. We had, over the last 2 years, started off the program, our innovation attraction program, which is really looking at attracting SMEs from around the world, especially the ones who have solutions and technologies for which there is potentially high demand here in Dubai. How did we do that? We established relationships with our peers in those respective countries. We signed up with them and through them had access to their portfolio of companies who are looking to internationalize. We offered a series of products which will help them soft land into Dubai in a much easier and smoother manner. Some of the options that we had, so this is how the partnership has been. Our focus was there, focus sectors: aerospace, transport, energy efficiency, medical and health, education, and ICT. The product lines that we offered were primarily soft landing. This is for licensing and setting up in Dubai when the startup wanted to set up shop. We through market access, we gave them access to all the local partners and demands that has been raised by our partners here. We set up a venture capital fund, and we also created a portfolio of investors who are keen to make investments into companies or solutions who are able to crack potential deals with our big partners here in all the sectors. So we have got some high-flying partners in all the relevant sectors, and based on their endorsement, we were able to give them financial support. Since this program is launched, we have, as of now, about 30 members in the program and about 35 partners who are from different sectors, from all over the 6 sectors, who are actively working with us to support or implement the solution into their operations. Let's have a quick look at the legal and tax system in the UAE. The UAE is, as mentioned before, we have the federation, federal, and the Emirates, individual Emirates. The federal law has the supremacy of the laws of individual Emirates. So if there's a federal law in the legal system, then that is what reigns supreme. And in the individual cities or Emirates can legislate in areas which is not covered by the Federation. The UAE legal system follows the civil law principles and is also the Islamic Sharia law. If you look at it, if you see that each emirate is entitled to either establish its own judiciary or merge with the federal court system. In some of the free zones, for example, here specifically we would say DIFC, they have their own jurisdiction and they have their own courts, the Dubai International Financial Center. So this, most of the cases of companies and businesses that is operating within the DIFC are have to go through the DIFC court and then does not have to follow the Dubai court. For business setup here, there are basically two options that are on the table for international companies when they want to set up. One is the onshore mainland license or the financial and economic free zones. The onshore mainland license enables one to do business in the local market and in any free zone. But here in terms of ownership, you would see that 51% of this is held by a UAE national. So it's a 51-49 shareholding that is applicable in this particular situation. There is a minimum lease requirement in terms of office space, and the visas are based on how much of office space has been leased. Government approval is required for getting this license. Whereas in the free zones, we have specific free zones with specific focus on some individual sectors, and here there is no restriction on foreign ownership, and there is no need of physical space, and visas are limited in terms of based on need, depending on whatever the regulation that specific free zone has set. No special approvals are required here. Just to look at it in terms of on the legal setup, what are the advantages and the disadvantages? On an onshore or a mainland license, the plus points are that you can sell goods and services within the border of the UAE, and you can sell it in any free zone. And there are no visa limitations for employees. You can have any number of employees depending on the space that you take. But what are the negatives? As obviously is that as an expat business, you only 49% of the entity can be acquired or possessed. Office space is mandatory, and government approval is necessary to establish local entity. When we come to the free zones, the pluses are that there's 100% ownership and no mandatory requirement for office space. But the restrictions in terms of doing business is that it cannot be sold. Business can be done only within that free zone and cannot be sold in other parts of the UAE. And there's a limitation in the number of visas that is there. A quick look at the tax system. There is no federal tax system. There is a 5% VAT that has come into force from 1st of January 2018. That is the only applicable VAT tax at the moment. There are specific corporate income taxes specifically for oil companies and branches of foreign banks, but that's a specific application of tax. And for certain commodities, we have a more elevated tax rate, which I think you are aware of. Customs duty is a standard 5% on all imports, with an exception of certain items where there might be a different charge or levy at that point of time. Intellectual property. The Ministry of Economy is responsible for intellectual property rights in the UAE. 5 distinct intellectual property rights are recognized, which are the trademarks, copyrights, patents, protection, and confidential information. the intellectual property protection laws are identified as a bit as being market restrictive, especially in certain kind of sectors that is controlled, like pharmaceuticals and medical devices. And also there are a few concerns in terms of the cost associated with IP protection here. These are being looked into at the moment for smoothness and better IP protection rights for companies. Data security. I think UAE faced a problem where software piracy was at a high in 2017, and with huge losses amounting to $210 million coming out from this. This is a significant challenge, and the government is actually working on addressing this issue. There is no general data protection law, but there are articles that is protecting privacy data and data for the citizens of the country. Telecommunication law. This telecommunication law has set up the authority, the regulatory authority, to oversee the telecommunication sector in the UAE. As a part of its role to represent consumer interests, the TRA has established regulations for telecommunication service providers in the UAE. There is no specific provisions under UAE law regulating the transfer of data. That data subject should provide consent to the transfer of personal data to third parties inside and outside the UAE. A quick look at some of the labor aspects. There are no specific wage requirements. There's no minimum wage requirement or mandatory annual increase in terms of salaries and bonus payments. But the payments are secured through the wage protection system, which is initiated by the government. Social security, expatriates, no tax for social security payments. UAE and GCC, which are citizens of the country, are entitled to a pension which follows registration at the General Pension and Social Security Authority. Health insurance is mandatory by law, and there are various employment laws in the UAE, both in mainland and free zones, as per, and each free zone has its own employment rules. Just a quick snapshot. Working hours are 48 hours per week. The weekends are usually the Friday and mostly Saturday also, and 30 days calendar paid vacation every year. The official holidays, these are some of the days where the official holidays in the UAE. Usually business is a bit slow during Ramadan and during the summer vacation when the schools are closed. These are lean periods, but then as soon as they're back, the business starts booming again. UAE, like any other country, I assume, has an Emiratization policy, and it looks to integrate and employ a number of UN nationals into the public and private sector based on certain percentages. Expats require visa to do business or operate or work in the UAE, and the permits are valid for between 2 and 4 years and must be renewed or cancelled upon expiry. There is no income tax. The only tax that is applicable is a 5% value-added tax on majority of goods that was introduced on the 1st of January 2018. From a cost of living perspective, generally it is a little expensive because of the high rents and inflation, but there are certain other benefits also, like subsidized fuel costs and all the stuff which compensate for that. The UAE being a Muslim country, follow all customs related to the Sharia law, and all visitors and residents are required to follow these. Let's do a quick sector analysis. These are the six focus sectors as per the UAE mandate, and automatically this is a drill down into the Dubai's ecosystem also. Aerospace. The UAE's aerospace sector has been growing considerably. The amount of investment has been significant, both in aviation and into the space. With the talks about going to Mars and everything, there's the space sector is really focusing on creating a strong, big culture cluster around it in the UAE. Also, investments in the aviation, primarily from airlines, Emirates and Etihad, I'm sure you're aware, and also the infrastructure, the airport infrastructure from Dubai, the Dubai airports, are huge investments that have been made, and it has created about 750,000 jobs in the aerospace sector, and it contributes $54 billion annually to the UAE's economy. And there are a lot of big players at both at the federal and in the Emirates level, and even at the private sector, right from manufacturing to aircraft maintenance and other services. There's a huge cluster of companies, as you can see, as Airbus and Boeing, Strata, all being part of this cluster. The next sector, transport and mobility. If you see the large chunk of the business here really is on air travel, and then it's marine and road. There's a federal authority for transport and mobility in the UAE, and that filters down at the Emirate level. For example, in Dubai, it is the RTA that is responsible for the transport and mobility sector in Dubai, and the Department of Transport in Abu Dhabi is the one responsible for Abu Dhabi. A lot of big private players, global and local, also actively present and supporting government in developing this sector. Just in terms of statistics, a strategic location and being in the heart of the Middle East, with South Asia and Africa close by, and well-developed links to the Far East and Europe is what made this opportunity come true in terms of being the logistics hub. The UAE, the Jebel Ali port, which is the 10th largest port in the world, and the market for transportation services sector can be valued at approximately $16 billion US dollars. This logistics sector is the first in the MENA region and the 11th in the world. So in terms of scale, and as an industry, it is the third in the world, next only to China and India. And let's look at the energy sector now. Energy efficiency. The UAE Energy Strategy 2050 has set some big guidelines in terms of goals to achieve clean energy. If you see in terms of goals, a percentage, there's a large focus on moving from hydrocarbon and polluting energy into clean and sustainable energy. This has been showcased through installations that have actually happened, and the scale up of installations that you see here in terms of megawatts of renewable capacity. The UAE government has aims to invest more than 600 billion, which is about 150 billion US dollars by 2050 to meet the growing energy demands and ensure the sustainable growth of the country's economy. Here again, we have the same administering lead from the federal and the emirate level, and in perfect partnership with private sector. There are some few big projects which are spearheaded here to lead in energy efficiency. And for example, I would like to mention about the Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum Solar Park, which is the single largest solar park in the world. It as of now, by 2020, generates 1,000 megawatts and is expected to achieve 5,000 megawatts by 2030. The Shams 1 project in Al Masdar, this is also a project which is US dollars 600 million square 2.5 square kilometer plant capacity to feed 100 megawatt of electricity into the national grid, enough to power 20,000 houses and divert 175 tons of CO2 from the air. There are also some significant contributions from our private players. For example, as an example, one of our partners at the Innovation Attraction Program, the Sustainable City, which is a zero carbon footprint residential and commercial community in the heart of Dubai. Healthcare. This was always in focus for UAE. Every year in terms of investments, the expenditure has been growing year on year. And this has been visible on the ground because there are about 137 hospitals in the UAE itself with over 13,000 hospital beds. If you see in terms of the situation now where the Ministry of Health had handled the pandemic, this is purely because of the infrastructure that was in place to manage the pandemic of this size. Again, here it is being led by the Ministry of Health and Prevention. And when you go down to the Emirates, you have the Dubai Health Authority handling it for Dubai and the Department of Health for the Emirates of Abu Dhabi. Again, this collaboration becomes effective when private sector players come into play, and we have some of the biggest groups, hospitals that are also part of the medical sector here, in collaboration with insurance companies. Some of the main challenges here, as far as health is concerned, primarily are cardiovascular diseases, strokes, and also, unfortunately, UAE has the highest obesity rate per capita. So these are some of the worrying trends that the medical sector faces. A quick look at the educational sector here. It's just from the fact perspective, you would see there's 194 private schools operating in the UAE, and therefore, and many of them following approximately 17 different curricula. So there are only 17 public schools in Dubai, and Dubai alone has about 70 universities. This is the variety of education that is available in the thing. We have the KHDA, for example, in Dubai, which is certifying schools and grading them based on performance from outstanding to weak, and also based on the curriculum that is available there. Again, here we have it spearheaded by the Ministry of Education and supported by the Emirates, in Emirates by the KHDA and the Department of Education. And private players, we have big participations from GEMS Education, American University of Dubai, New York University, Abu Dhabi, are all key players in the education sector. Coming to ICT, as mentioned, this is one of the growing sectors in terms of with interesting regulation that's coming its way. Broadly, if you're looking at the expenditure here, we are seeing ICT expenditure in based on for devices, infrastructure, software, IT services, business services, and telecom services. And this is how the classification is. This is also a $16 billion sector. We again have government players here, regulators, and for Dubai, we have Smart Dubai and Abu Dhabi Digital Authority, who are working hand in hand with many of the big private players like Etisalat, the biggest Etisalat and Du, which are the telecom providers, and Oracle, Microsoft, Helvet, HP, IBM, working closely with the government partners to deliver value to the ICT segment. The focus here primarily is on smart infrastructure, smart identity, human capital, smart data analytics, and smart service modernization. Some of the top trends in the UAE ICT sector is cloud-based services, artificial intelligence technology, and also cyber security, which is also growing substantially here in the ICT sector. While the market is generally a bit is generally competitive, and sometimes there might be low margins in terms of business, but it is growing and new avenues are opening up. The government itself has spearheaded a number of initiatives for ICT. The Dubai Paperless strategy is an example which plans to eliminate 1 billion paper that is being used for government transactions. The UAE blockchain strategy aims to capitalize on blockchain technology to transform 50% of the government transactions into blockchain platform by 2021. The UAE Computer Emergency Response Team has been established to facilitate the detection and prevention and response to cyber security incidents on the internet. These are some of the key aspects that is going on here in the ICT sector. With that, we've just come to the end of my presentation. But as I would like to mention is that what you've seen is a systematic and robust engine in place for the last few decades to achieve the expectations set by leadership. Since then, we have been through a number of highs and lows, and this pandemic is definitely one of them. Some of the big contributing factors who are leading may need to relook at its operating models, and other new sectors may grow. And at these trying times, we see huge potential for transformational growth, primarily in agriculture and health, medical, and ICT. What will help us overcome this is the country's resilience and eagerness to adapt to change as we go forward. And this means that the UAE and of course Dubai is always willing to work with countries who share similar visions. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Vinod, for your complete presentation about the UAE ecosystem and sectors. I think it was a good combination. I made very general comments about certain opportunities in sectors that you highlighted very well. I think I agree, being in Dubai all this time, that in health there is very good opportunities. We already have a couple of cases with these nanoparticles of copper, with companies already selling its products in Dubai, some trying to get certain expansion in Dubai. E-learning also, there is a good ecosystem there. Private education, it is very strong. Also there we are already helping companies. blockchain, fintech, definitely. I mean, Dubai has this strategy, part of Smart Dubai. Also solar energy, definitely. I mean, there is a lot of opportunities. So agriculture, safety, food security is a very important topic for UAE, and Chile has a lot to offer in terms of knowledge. So that was the aim of this webinar, to put on the map Dubai, to put on the map this Dubai innovation ecosystem. And the good is, like, this is the first stone of this process. We are now planning to do a pitch for UAE that I would like to invite Sophia, if she can explain us a bit more, because that's exactly what we are expecting after showing a market. It's immediately coming with a very practical approach. So this is not just theory or theoretical webinar. So I hope Sophia is still with us, and she can talk to us about the next step.
Yes, thank you, Carlos. I'm still here. Thank you, Vinod, for your presentation. As Carlos just mentioned it, the idea of this webinar was to get you a better view of the opportunities that we are finding in the Dubai ecosystem, and how Dubai can be a platform for you on the MENA region and to the Asian markets. And in that sense, the idea now is to, and of course, I'm gonna let Vinod tell what you guys are expecting to find in the applications, but we would like to invite you to participate in this pitch session that will get you closer to the Dubai ecosystem. The whole point of this is to get you access to the support that Dubai SME has for this type of companies that wants to expand to the market. And I think if you participate, you will also get the chance to get a better overview of the fit that your product or service might have for the market. So now and until for a week, if I'm not wrong, we will have opened this application so you can participate of the pitch sessions. The whole point, as I said, is for you to access to the support that Dubai SME can give you in order to enter that market. And if you happen to have a product or service that might not be right now a good fit, then these pitch sessions will also help you get more feedback from the market and prepare for a future takeoff. So Vinod, maybe you can tell us a little bit of what you guys are expecting at these pitch sessions. What are the companies that we are looking for and that you expect to find within the applications?
Thank you, Sophia. Sorry, Vinod, let me interrupt you a little bit. I forgot to mention something very important. It's like through the chat, all the attendees can make some questions. So you can take all this time. In the meantime, Vinod can explain us, and thank you again, Vinod, for being with us.
See, as mentioned, and based on the focus sectors that we have, the 6 sectors, we are open to look at companies who are excelling in any solution or technology within those sectors. I mean, for example, ICT and education plays a horizontal role into all the sectors. So there's ICT application in aerospace versus it being used in health and medical, so and education vice versa. So this is the case. We are open to solutions and technologies that are proven, tested, they're successful in their countries. I mean, this is what we look for this when we assess a pitch for potential orientation into the Dubai market. This is one of the criteria that we look at. So we look for the endorsement from our partners, for example, in that specific country, watching for them, and also in terms of the use cases that come up. This is key.
Thank you, Vinod. As Vinod was mentioning, and as we recommend as ProChile, we think that in order to go to different markets, you somehow need to be validated in your own market, have a strong market share that will let you do the efforts to overcome a new market. Expanding to other regions, of course, is not easy. It takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, and a lot of funding. And in that sense, we highly recommend companies that wants to participate in this pitch session and wants to work with Dubai SME to be ready in order to attack a new market. We also recommend always to start looking for opportunities maybe closer to where you are at. That would be have some traction in Latin America, in Chile, or in other markets, and then go to get the opportunity that Dubai SME is offering, because if not, sometimes you lose focus, and that, of course, it's not good for the company, it's not good for you as a founder, and of course, it's not good for our partners at Dubai SME that are expecting to help these companies grow in the region. If you guys have questions, I don't know, Vinod, do you want to add something?
Yes, just also note that we would like to offer the winners of the pitch competition maybe membership into our innovation attraction program. So what happens is that if we can provide that as a prize, it will give a much needed support for the company to explore the UAE market, primarily Dubai, and then go into UAE. So that's an opportunity that we have because of all the service and support that we would offer for free to the membership through the innovation attraction program.
Well, now you have it. It's a great opportunity for all of you guys. So Itztiar, I think, already shared the link. The link is going to be available in our website, and we'll be also sending all the participants the link through email. So then you are going to have access to apply. Again, the application is going to be open for around a week, and then of course we will share all this opportunity with Dubai SME in order to select the companies that will be participating at the pitch session. Carlos, should we also answer we have one question right now. If someone else has a question, feel free to do it through the chat. Carlos, should we answer the question that we already have in the chat now, or?
Yes, we have more than one question. Actually, I'm having a bit of a problem with seeing the panel. One of them, I don't know if it's in the correct order, but if you can elaborate a bit more about the international attraction program, Vinod.
Okay. So we have a portal which is you can write it down. It's www.smeIAP.com. This is the website which will give you a lot of information about the program. And as I mentioned, this program is a very specialized program. It's focused. We don't seek startups or SMEs directly. We work with partners around the world. So yeah, so for example, in Chile, we would like to partner with ProChile, for example, and use ProChile's recommendation reference to recommend a company or solution for a specific demand that we would like to. We'll keep communicating periodically, saying that yes, we are looking for something like this. Do you have a solution that is, we understand the capabilities and specialities of those specific geographies, so we keep communicating back and forth, and then based on the recommendation, we start assessing a company or a solution that we can put through the program. So it's a very selection based recommended recommendation-based success factor evaluation criteria, because once they become a member, all the services that we offer there in terms of, for example, soft landing, licensing, and market access. So we become your business development arm. We are talking to all the partners on your behalf. We represent you. We do go to market sessions and studies with you. So it's a very handheld kind of an exercise that happens going forward. So that's the kind of service offering that we have in the Innovation Attraction Program.
Thank you, Vinod, for the clarification. We have here another question from Karina. She's asking in which state of elaboration the startup or the products or service need to be done to apply for the pitch.
Yeah, as mentioned, we were talking about companies who have a certain level of established credentials, before when they pitch, because we want them to be successful in with their solution and technology in their geography, and then maybe look at internationalizing their solution with a certain level of customization. We expect a certain level of readiness. So we expect the companies to be ready, because this demand might be immediate, maybe an immediate requirement. So we expect the company not to be in an R&D stage, for example, or the product is not there. And that's something that we would like to avoid generally. But
thank you.
Again, having said that, as I mentioned before, some of the partners are willing to develop jointly with the startup. These are specifically in the case of clusters which are not fully developed. I would say, like in maybe space, like the Mohammed bin Rashid Space Center is willing to work with solutions and technologies, and they're willing to jointly develop it together with the company. So in those cases, there's an opportunity that is there, but the partner has to express interest to support like that.
Perfect. Thank you, Vinod. Here we have another question for you. If you can make a small remark on the energy water on desalination specific industry. I think DIWA has certain maybe programs, or if you can elaborate a bit more.
I'm not fully aware specifically on the desalination part of things. If the question is very specific, I could try to obtain this answer for the.
Yes. What I have been already learned from the market is like, well, of course, all the water that Dubai use is and Abu Dhabi is desalinated water.
Yep.
Actually, previously I was working in the private sector, working close to that field. I know that there is certain projects of Masdar trying to get desalination with solar energy, for example. DIWA also should enter very soon on that with Aqua. I know that they are already thinking into that, because it is a city that needs to desalinate in a more sustainable way. So that as they are moving into solar, definitely they will move into maybe new ways of create drinking water. But we can also, as the office, also support and elaborate more on that. So we are expecting to share the presentation with all the attendees, and we're going to share also email. So thank you for that question. Another question was for you, Sophia, but I know the answer, but I will let you explain if they can apply to UAE as a market in the Go Global program.
Yes, unfortunately, no. The Go Global program, it's only in the markets of Peru, Colombia, Mexico, and US through Miami for now. Maybe in the future, if we see that there's a lot of innovative companies going to Dubai, it will make sense to expand the Go Global to Dubai. For now, we are focusing on the markets where we are identifying that companies are usually growing to, in order to have the critical mass the program needs. But we will be developing other opportunities like Go Global in the future in order to support that specific company in that specific market without the need of working on a cohort basis. That it's the way that Go Global works.
Yes, and also we will make visible as many programs that are having acceleration or seed funding to for foreign companies. So actually that is one of our scope. It's like how we add value to the innovation strategy that Sofia is creating for the companies. There are already many cases of good examples of escalation sent to Go Global. So we can replicate that in a more, let's say, a niche way for certain markets. So this is the idea. Here we have another question.
Add a little bit to what just Carlos said. As Go Global, it's a complete offer for those markets. We are looking for bridges and opportunities in other markets, and what Dubai SME is offering, it's quite similar to what we offer at Go Global. So through them, you can access the same or even a better support in order to enter the market. Go Global, it's a program that we run with local partners, but in this case, Dubai SME would be the best partner you can find in order to enter the market. So we do something like Go Global, but with our partners from Dubai SME.
Yeah, and in general as well, you can all apply on the Innovation Attraction platform website. If you're willing to drop your application there, we are happy to review it later on as well, and maybe give you as well some initial feedback from our side, and see if your product or your solution works in the UAE market. So please really feel free to sign up, and then we are more than happy to jointly work with you.
Yes, many thanks, Mateo. Mateo is also part of SME, a very good supporter of our team. We had a very good call trying to connect all the ecosystem with Startup Chile a couple of weeks ago. So it's good to see that now we are already seeing some results. So I'm very glad on that. I will move to another question that it's about how we can set up an office in a free zone. They say if we install in a free zone, we will not be able to receive investment from local investors. And what about any potential activity with the smart cities institutions? I think, Vinod, if you can.
The question is about setting up business in the free zone. Yeah, this is the question.
Yes, if they set up an office in a free zone, if they are eligible to get certain funds from any government, for example, institution.
Yes, because see, the free zone is generally regulated by the authority of that free zone. So the conditions and rules that is applicable for that particular free zone, it will be specific to that particular free zone. So they have to comply with that. So for example, in terms of thing, if they were to seek investment, they would, if the authority says that you can access the investment only within the free zone, for example, that is a criteria that has to be followed by the company. Yeah, so that is how the situation is.
Yeah.
And
the
especially
next,
as well for
if there is so, yes, go ahead, Mateo.
And for the second part of the question, actually, if the company can do business within the borders of the UAE, this would not be possible. So even consultancy services from a free zone to the UAE is on paper as well not accepted, and So if you wish to do business within the borders of the UAE, we strongly recommend to really set up a business license, onshore business license, which ultimately will also give you a lot of advantages when speaking to government clients, but also other private sector clients in the region.
Thank you, Mateo. So we will have the two last questions. Well, one is again for Sophia for the pitch section for UAE. If the startup need to have revenues in order to be eligible.
As we just mentioned it, we highly recommend companies to have some traction and validation in the local market. It makes a huge difference when expanding to new markets. But of course, at the end, it will be up to Dubai SME to select or not that company. In the initial requirements, it's not mandatory for them to have sales, but again, Dubai SME and us recommend companies to have some traction in the local market in order to expand to a market like Dubai.
Perfect. And the last question, Vinod, is about if do I need a UAE partner to establish or do business in Dubai? I think you mentioned, but maybe if you can reinforce as a final question.
Yeah, I think for the mainland license, the ownership criteria is 51-49. Yeah, so with the 51% staying with the UAE national who's going to be the thing, you can have a sponsor a side agreement detailing the shareholding and all that, but officially you have to have this is how it comes on the trade license. So where 51% of the business is owned by the UAE national in mainland. This is how it is for onshore license.
Yes. So it's we have, just to mention a bit, we have two companies of Chile established in free zones. Actually three. There is a new one that established there. So the advantage of free zone, yeah, you can have your own 100% ownership. For the local market, you need a partner. But if you want to sell the service or the products from the free zone, you still will need a partner to go ahead. So I think both are clear options. Depend a lot on the business, I must say, on the plan, because maybe you can establish still in the free zone and you can partner with a distributor. That is usually a very common model, like some companies do. Just the final, and I will put it in the chat. Someone was asking again for the web for the SME International Attraction Program. So I will send to all the web page direction. And again, I would like to thank to Vinod, just to finalize the webinar. I would like to thank Sophia. I think this was a very interesting webinar to promote Dubai, to promote what the Department of Innovation is doing. It's very, as we saw in the presentation, it is the new now normal to use a lot of technology to communicate, to add value, and we expect to support a lot of SMEs because that will help to create jobs, to reactivate the economy. So for that, thank you, Vinod, and thank you, Sophia. I don't know if also you want to do a final some remarks.
Yeah, I would just like to thank you, Carlos, and the team of ProChile Dubai for setting this up and for connecting us with Vinod and Dubai SME. I think collaboration like this one, it's going to be of huge value for Chilean companies wanting to expand abroad. And I want to thank Vinod and his team for joining us today. I know that it's the end of your day over there. So thank you for taking the time and for joining us. Looking forward to see you in a couple of weeks for the pitch session. And I think we all have high expectations of the applicants of the pitch session. So I'll invite everyone to apply. If you have any questions, you can just feel free to reach out to us through our website. And if you have any questions through our social networks, also we'll be happy to answer it. So thank you, everyone. For those in Chile, have a great day. And for those in Dubai, have a great evening.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Carlos. Thank you, Sofia.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.